We all have limited storage space.
Well, good morning, sir.
Good morning to you, sir. How are you?
Good. Been a while. But
Yeah, we kind of got busy right after the holiday season and then into the new year.
yeah, but that's okay.
And, a couple of weeks. Get away from us.
Busy's good, as we
Yeah,
say in the self-employment world.
busy is good, right?
Yeah.
Busy is good. Yeah.
But no,
So
you
what are
had
the
a
highlights? What's going on with you these days? What engagements?
well, I'm actually heading home back to Ohio tomorrow.
Okay, that's right.
To help out with mom a little bit, but
Yeah,
so that's a little non-work related stuff, but yeah, just working on I got a new series of videos I've been working on. It's
great.
taken way longer than I wanted, but I'm kind of excited to update how we're presenting our message and getting it out there and make it easier for people to get an idea of what we do.
You
And
know, isn't that the truth, right? Which
yeah,
kind of case in point to what we're going to talk about here today, right?
yeah.
We have repositories of this information, sometimes in different formats, right?
Hmm.
Like for Blue Water members, they have this available in our lecture content. They can review it. It's also in our written guide. They can review it. And now here we are, going to kick off a discussion today, much the same information, but it's all about repetition, right? Making the information available in different locations and perhaps formats, just so it can kind of land differently with different members. We all absorb information differently, right? So,
Yeah, and it's also keeping up with the times. The reality is we're just every day more and more information is getting put out there. People want to be able to consume stuff on the go.
sure,
Video can also kind of work as an audio, put on a YouTube, but just listen to it like it's a
absolutely,
podcast.
yeah,
So the more that you kind of just can click around and get a general idea of stuff without having to sit down and say, all right, I'm sitting here for the next for the whole weekend to try to
yeah,
consume all this. But people will tell themselves that and maybe
sure,
obviously that's a good idea.
yeah.
But that's
But
not
these are
how we
nice, right?
found.
You can just put them on. You can run them in the background. Hey, for example, today we're going to talk about prepping for your interview, right? And if you just wanted to listen to the message and have it reinforce, your review of some written content, it's a great way to do it, right? It's a good tool.
Yeah. So you know I know that the interview prep is probably got to be one of the more stressful aspects of the career progression. It's like, all right, how do I write my resume? But that's in the background,
Yeah.
doing your market analysis. But all of a sudden it's like, okay, now we'd like to interview you. It reminds me one time, I was already, I had already submitted my paperwork to leave the Army,
Yeah.
and a job came open for a command at a local, kind of the base command. They needed a company
Yeah.
commander to run, and I got invited in to do an interview with the colonel, and I didn't prep for it. It was kind of last minute, and I just remember being totally unprepared, and I was just like, what did I just do? And
Exactly.
it's like, I wasn't expecting an interview. I didn't know they did
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that and then for me, pretty much anytime I'm talking with a new prospective client, it's a bit of an interview process,
Sure.
right? Oftentimes I'm presenting, and maybe it doesn't work that way, but in the job search world, but at the end of the day, that's what you're doing. You're presenting yourself and your credentials,
We
and you got to show up the right way, right?
Yeah, absolutely right. We have a saying, right? Like, hey, you're gonna get good at sales, and we have a lot of members go, Mike, I'm not interested in sales on it. Let me tell you, you're in sales. Everybody's in sales. An interview, you're in sales. You're selling a product yourself for a best fit, right? An organization or an industry. But it's all about salesmanship, and that approach and that mindset once our members really get their brain around it, you can just see when the light comes on, they go, oh man, I absolutely get it now. You're right. It's all about sales, right? And we're all in sales. So, Scott, I would kick it off like this, right? Like, and I chuckle when I say this, this to be true because you and I live this. I've had members come to us and go, Mike, how do you guys decide what you're going to talk about, right? Weekly, when we get into our rhythm here on these things. And it is really about members' feedback coming to us. And we live these, seasons of themes, if you will. And most recently, we just knocked out our January cohort. And most recently, there seem to be a lot of questions about, I'm not sure if it's the season we're in, but hey, Mike, how do I prep for an interview? Or this appetite to, hey, these 10 questions, Mike, can you give me the answers to these 10 questions? And I'm going to memorize these 10 questions. Well, that is an approach. But I don't espouse or highly recommend that. I want members to understand the tools to be able to prepare for what may be the questions they're going to get asked, right? And the methodologies to structure their responses and how to prepare for that. Ultimately, if I can convey that in today's session and probably another session and maybe even a follow-on session, we'll do a little mini series here. And then we can edit it down for the benefit of our members. But that's really, what's that old saying? Yeah, I'm not going to fish for you. I want to teach you how to fish, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to answer the questions for you because I can't answer them, but I'm going to tell you how to structure these responses. There is some heavy lifting to do, right? So that you can, in the end, come across conversationally, clearly, concisely, and as our members, many of our members hear me articulate it this way. How do you get good at doing pull-ups? Man, the only way you get good at doing pull-ups is doing pull-ups, right? Like you start out and I can only do 2 or 3. And then at the end of the month, guess what? I can do 15, right? Yeah, but you got to do them. How do you get good at interviewing? Well, you got to practice it. It's got to be out loud. It has to be timed. And you have to develop a comfort factor with that environment. And more importantly, your responses. And that is what is going to allow you to come off conversational, relaxed, clear, concise, right? That's the only way you're able to convey that, you just got to practice it, right? And so that's really the lead in. And again, we already kind of alluded to this. Our members, and I'm not sure if you have the document available, but we have the content. We have this written content that aligns with our discussion during our cohorts. And we really do espouse members to read content, right? Read this, review this before you show up to a cohort so that you are, the discussion in the cohort is more review. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like it's not the first time you've heard it. And then, so review the material up front, which will be a lot of what we're going to talk about over the next couple of sessions. Go to the cohort, get the messaging, reinforces this, and then go back to the content for review. And then we are an enduring, right? An enduring relationship. So we're always available to answer questions. So anyway, that's just kind of a kickoff. And that's how we, for our listeners out there, this is how we, we talk about what is interesting to our members. And we go through these seasons and it just seems like we've had a lot of members going, okay, Mike, I don't really get this. How am I prepping for an interview, et cetera, right?
Let me ask you this, because it sounds to me like, in my world, it's public speaking training and skills. And while we do a lot of, if you're a senior leader in the military, you do a lot of public speaking, but how many have gone through specific public speaking
Yeah.
training, whether that's, Dale Carnegie or some online guru, or,
Yeah.
just reading some books on it. Cause, I've studied that a lot. And, one of the tools I've used is, like Scott Adams talks about this a lot, and he recently
Yeah.
passed away, sadly. But he would talk about just always have a set of stories that you can, kind of fall
Sure.
back on. And that's, kind of the stuff. That way, if you're unsure, you can kind of, control the conversation, have a list of 3 to 5 minute segments that you feel you can
It's
kind of almost repeat verbatim, but you've done it so often
yeah.
that it just comes out, naturally.
Conversationally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's great insight. And that really dovetails or aligns nicely with the message that we want to convey here in this series, right? And but let me back up. You made me think about something, and I think typically the pedigree or analytically, who is the Blue Water member? And this, prepping for interview and interview skills, being comfortable in public speaking, this kind of works for our membership and against our membership. And let me explain that. Our members typically are very comfortable speaking in public, right? They're senior leaders. I mean, almost, half of our membership are those, 25 plus year captains, right? Another 25% post command 05s, right? Lieutenant colonels in the Army or commanders in the Navy. And so, really, that's about 75% of our membership is that grouping. And then we have some rapidly growing 07 and above contingents, right? And then a sliver of 03, 04s, LDOs, warrants, those kind of senior leaders out there. But all of that grouping predominantly is very comfortable speaking in public. And so here comes the first pitfall. Hey, Mike, I have conversations like this with senior leadership all the time. I'm just going to go in there, to your case in point, I'm going to wing it, right? Okay, maybe I'll do a little prep, but Mike, I'm certainly not going to write these answers down. I'm not going to spend days practicing these responses and timing my responses, and maybe even using some of the tools that we'll make members aware of that are out there, LinkedIn interview tools, or recording yourself playing it back. They're going, hey, Mike, that's a little overkill. That's a little overkill. And that's a pitfall. And what our members quickly realize, and it takes about one interview, and they're like, okay, this is different. I'm all of a sudden not the subject matter expert in this conversation. I don't get to say when the conversation starts and when the conversation's over. I'm not the one asking the questions. I'm the one answering the questions. And oh, by the way, people are assessing the quality and the content of my responses. Like, man, I'm completely uncomfortable in this environment. And it's just enough to throw senior leaders off their game a little bit, to where they come across as not relaxed, not conversational, struggling for an answer, not able to structure it in a fashion that I can draw you into the discussion with me and work you to a logical conclusion. They just miss the mark. And unfortunately, we're saying, look, live vicariously through us. Don't do these things. Like your example, right? Don't just show up to an interview and having given it no thought. Mm-hmm. And I even include, I don't care if you know that person and you've known them for 30 years, don't embarrass yourself. Don't show up not prepared and have done your homework. And this series is going to walk us through that. So, but that's a really big pitfall. And you just kind of, shed light on that. And I just wanted to highlight that we as senior leaders, especially our Blue Water members, Mike, I don't need to do this, right? And I'm like, man, don't take that approach. You absolutely do. Unfortunately, you won't learn this lesson if you don't take it at face value and take our current, relevant, credible insight, because we've lived it. We were also senior leaders like you. Please, let us help you avoid this. But if not, I promise you one interview, and then you're going to come back and you're going to go, whoa, yeah, that was different, right? This is a different environment. This is not that, the world that I left, right? So, but again, thanks for teasing that out, right? And I just wanted to just kind of drill that home for all the listeners out there. Don't just flippantly approach these opportunities, right? When you're stepping into a structured interview environment. So anyway, so any questions on that? Thoughts?
No, we can move on.
Yeah. So
how's the interview really start? I guess that's kind of my main question. Like, when does this really begin?
Oh my goodness. You get some strange looks, from our
Whoop, Mike, we lost you. All right, hold on, everyone. Looks like Mike's internet might have went down. Let me text him a link. He can come in on his phone. But no, this is a topic that would stress me out completely. So I know it's an important one that we hit on. All right, he's back.
Now, is that better?
Now we got you. Just cut out, and I'm like, well, I don't know how to talk about interviews, so.
No, I'm not sure, man. The internet still looks good, and I saw your link come through to jump in via phone, but so hopefully we can just press on.
Modern technology isn't what we all think it is.
Yeah. So let's see what we were talking about. When does the interview really start, right? And Steve Weeman does a good job of this. As soon as you step into the networking phase, and if you are a Blue Water member, this will resonate with you, right? It's like getting into the right mindset as far as the lineage of topics we cover, and your the phases that you'll step through, leaving uniform service to landing with another company and receiving a signed offer letter, right? So you got to get in the right mindset. You next spend some time designing your career progression that leads you into market analysis. In other words, how you assess a good fit, right? We've talked about that in the past. And then stepping through targeting your resume, using social media as a weapon, really. And now we're into, how do I prep for my interview? How do I execute the interview? And then how am I going to negotiate the compensation on the backside of this, right? And we've talked about these things, but what we're going to focus on is just prepping for the interview and when it starts. And it really starts, Scott, a lot earlier, way earlier than most people recognize, right? We all focus on an interview is when I walk into somebody's office, I sit down and they start asking me questions. That is true. And we'll talk about the anatomy of that specific, interview environment. But your interview starts the first time I have a conversation, a networking conversation, really, with somebody in that company. You with me?
Yeah.
And I know that sounds kind of flippant a little bit, or maybe, cliche to a certain degree, but it really does. It's really true. I mean, if you, for example, worked for, let's just say, Raytheon, I was interested in pursuing Raytheon, and you've now carved out 30 minutes, right, of your day to have a conversation with me. I need to approach that, right, as an interview. Now, if listeners are interested, you and I did a series on how to network effectively and the right approach to take to networking. I would encourage you to go back and listen to that message well, but just recognize, okay, it's a networking connection, But in this use case example, the title I want to put on that is that's an interview. Somebody is looking at you through the lens of, man, could I see this guy really, raising the bar and delivering results with me at the company, right? I mean, I'm assessing you. I'm a hiring manager, potentially. I'm having a conversation with you. So our members need to approach it in that sense, right? So specifically answering your question, when does it start? I'm going to say first contact, man. You're having a discussion with somebody. Treat that like an interview. Show up prepared, right?
Could that also, apply to a casual environment? If you're essentially, in the job search and even you're just out casually, you're out golfing, and you're just trying to strike up more conversations, which is you just say, get to know people, and eventually they ask, hey, so what do you do? What are you up to?
Absolutely.
And the ability to be able to casually drop some hints of,
Yeah.
well, I'm kind of looking to get into this type of industry. I've got these particular skill sets that I'm really excited about. And you just never know when that person be like, oh, you know what? Like I got a buddy who works over at, such and such, and maybe you should, maybe I can link them up with you. And then that's the real trick to networking is that's the real idea to sales is putting ideas in other people's heads of, hey, why do I want to continue this conversation or make a connection? Looks like we lost Mike again. Or is it me? Man, we're having bad internet today. Stand by. Well, we might have to hit this another time if we can't get this to work today. All right, I'm going to go down and call Mike and see if we can get this going again. All right, I think we're back.
All right, I think so. How's
Sound good? Nope, lost you again. All right, I think we're gonna probably just call it for today. We got a good intro to the topic. We're gonna do multiple sessions anyways. So we'll just dive deeper on.
dude? How about now?
You froze up again for a few seconds there. So what I was just saying is, I think we got a good intro, into the topic, and we could, plan
Yeah.
on diving deeper in the future sessions, just to avoid any
Well,
other
yeah,
back and forth.
we
But
can probably wrap it up, right? And we'll pick it back up on our next session, right? So
yeah.
definitely a good topic. So, all
But
right,
cool. Well, yeah. Apologies,
let's
everybody, but
yeah,
technology. Everybody's had
technology.
internet
Yeah,
go down. Not a big deal. But
we'll pick it
yeah.
back.
Cool. Well, anything else you want to announce real quick while we are
No,
still
we're
connected?
tracking towards our February cohort, right? Another one here in Norfolk in the local area, and then we're off to Pax River, right? Excited about that in March, and then Orlando, NOC TSD in April, and then we still have a couple of open seats for Shield AI, right, in Arlington, Virginia, up in the Washington D.C. area, right? That cohort almost filled in May timeframe, and but that's going to be a good one, right? Neat company, exciting company, some good insights, and a great venue to host, right? A cohort up there, some beautiful spaces. Well, you remember you were with us when we went.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
right? Gorgeous.
it's fancy. You might
Yeah.
get a little distracted. Scott Sharrow popped in.
Hey, Scott, good to see you, man.
Yeah, man. Hope you're doing
Yeah,
well.
you're on the backside of our technology woes this morning, right?
Yeah.
Good seeing you.
And
But
hopefully,
yeah, Shield AI, man, that's a great location up there, right? And so we're excited about that. And then if you can believe it, that takes us all the way to summer. Like all of our cohorts were already full through the end of July.
yeah.
It's crazy. So
No.
we're starting to open up the August cohort with Mantech up in Pax River. Naval Academy again. That cohort's already taken registrations in Annapolis. That'll be, you're familiar with that event up there.
Yeah.
And then, we're pressing to the back half of the year, if you can believe it. It's crazy. So,
No, great. Well, yeah, let's, we're gonna, again, we were planning on doing multiple sessions on this anyways. What's the kind of main highlight for the next interview in this or session series?
Again, this is like, for members as you're approaching this, when does it actually start, right? The mindset to kind of get into. And then really the next step that we'll probably get in and talk about is the anatomy of an interview, right? The interview specific. We just talked about the mindset wise. Your interview starts when you're networking, right? I mean, that's really the mindset you need to have, but not to be confused with the actual interview event. We'll talk about an anatomy of that, what you can expect 90% of the time when you're stepping through that. And then we'll get into some tangible, hey, how do I prep? How do I predict the questions that are going to be coming to me? And then once I predict these questions, what are the models and the tools that are going to help me structure answers? And spoiler alert, right? The only way you're going to get good at interviewing is practice interviewing, right? The only way you're going to get good at pull-ups, you do pull-ups, right? And that's a lot the same mindset and approach, right? For your interview skills, right? The only way you get clear, concise, conversational tone, you just have to practice it. And be hard on yourself in practice, right? And then you'll step into the environment and do just fine. So those will be some of the things we'll talk about in our follow-on episode, right? And hopefully technology won't crush us at that point, right? And then some rules of thumb to kind of live by as you're stepping in and stepping through that process. So
Cool. All right, Mike. Well, no, I think we, got a good intro to the topic. Definitely hit on, the mindset stuff,
yeah,
how to really think about this. And looking forward to diving deeper next week.
I like it, sir. Okay, we'll catch everybody again next week as we press on with prepping for your interview, right? Your interview strategy.
All right. Take care.